This channel and its content are purely for entertainment. If you happen to learn something, awesome. I'm not a professional mechanic, fabricator, HVAC tech, contractor, chef, etc. Take my advice loosely and use it if you like and agree. Otherwise, do it your way. Enjoy the video. Well, welcome back, or to the channel. Today, I'm not exactly sure what we're getting into, but we're going to take a look at my 2006 Avalon. The brakes on the back are going to need some attention. I probably waited too long, avoided doing this, but I think I've gotten into the rotors a little bit with the brake pads, so we're probably going to have to get those rotors off. We're definitely going to have to replace the brakes. Typically, I just put new rotors on and don't even question it. I rarely go get them turned just because of the inconvenience of taking them off, taking them somewhere and getting it done. However, pricing rotors today for the back of this car, they're about $80 a piece. I can get them turned for about $20, assuming they're okay to be turned. So I think I'm going to take that gamble and take a little of the extra time and effort that it's going to take to go get them turned. Not exactly sure what we're getting into, but we're going to take the wheels off and take a look. First thing we got to do is get our lug nuts loosened up. These are 22 millimeter with a breaker bar. Always a good opportunity to take a look at your tires anytime you take off your wheels for some reason. You never know when you might have a wearing tire it's going to have to be replaced, or just a bad spot in it or something. So not a bad idea. Just take a visual, make sure everything looks like it's wearing evenly and you don't have any problems with it. I don't see anything with these. These are fairly new, so not having any problems with these, but always good to take a look. I'm going to take you in here just to look, show you. We're going to have to pull these calipers off. What we've got here is there's not too bad here. It's pretty smooth on the front of this rotor, but on the back I can feel some grooves. So it's obviously grinding back there, and you may or may not be able to tell. There's not much pad left in looking at this right in here. But basically we've got two 15 millimeter bolts. We've got one that's here. We got one that's down here that we need to pull off to get our caliper pulled off and hung out of the way so we can get to this rotor. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is get that off, because we're going to have to get these to town to get them turned. As I've mentioned in the past, you always want to hang your caliper up so you don't put any stress on this rubber line, because if you do, you're going to be wishing you did, because you're going to end up cracking or breaking this rubber line, losing pressure, and then you're going to be having to replace that as well. We're going to get these bolts off and get the caliper hung. Got a 14 millimeter socket. I'm going to take this top bolt off here and get the bottom bolt off there. Got the rotor hung up there. I'm going to leave the brakes on there for now. I know we're going to have to replace them, but we haven't picked those up yet either. We're going to get those when we go get our rotors turned. So next thing we got to do is get this rotor off here. Just feeling around the back of there, I can feel a lot of grooving. It's definitely got some ridges on the back. Not so much on the front.
Right here. Not here or here so much, but right here.
Nope. Ship shape.
But it must have been dragging on the back brake pad. So we're going to get this off. Sometimes you might have to use a persuasion tool to get these things loosened up. She's starting to come. There we go. There, she's loosed. Just slide her on off. Well, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's definitely some grooving on the back right here. She definitely needs turned there. Maybe on the inside with the parking brake too. It's pretty smooth in there. We're just going to pretend that these parking brake shoes are in good shape. I almost never use the parking brake, and there's still some thickness there to it. I'm not exactly sure what the thickness of the new ones is. I need to look that up. They may in fact need to be replaced, but we're going to go with the pads right now because, and I'll double check on the pads and see that that's what was actually causing us a problem. But based on this and the grooving that's around this here, you can just feel the grooves on the back side of this rotor. It's smooth inside here, so the parking brake wasn't dragging. It's a little dirty. It needs to be cleaned up. May have them turn the inside of this too if they can do that. Definitely this is where our grinding was coming from, and that's where the issue is. The front again is in smooth shape. There's a little bit of a lip here, but that's okay because it's not really running where the brakes go. But this one, that's not okay. That's just going to cause problems with the new brakes if we don't get this turned or replaced. Yeah, you can tell this back one, I'm actually not going to pull it out because again, if you watch my other video that I did on my mom's car, I always like to wait till I'm putting the new pads in to where I take them out, just because I don't do this all the time. And sometimes I forget how they go in, and that way I make sure I get them put back in exactly the way they came out. But you can see this pad is shot. There's like nothing left. This one, the front, it's still in fairly good shape. It definitely is only a couple of millimeters it needed replaced too. So we're gonna get new pads when we go to have the rotors turned. So I'm gonna go to the other side and get that one pulled off so we can get both of our rotors off. Same deal over here, 22 millimeter breaker bar. Get this sucker loose before we bring him up any higher. Safety first, kids. Always get your jack underneath there, get you a good spot to lift on, and make sure you put a jack stand as well. You don't want this thing falling down on you, especially if you got the other side jacked up. You got to be careful. Once again, take a look at your tire. Just double check it. And she looks pretty good. Always nice to have a variety of lights. We've got lots of magnetic lights and portable lights, and you can't have too many lights. And this rotor, at least initially, doesn't feel too bad. I don't think it was grinding. We're still gonna get it turned. Always handy to have two of everything. I'm pretty good at being redundant. They call me Captain Redundancy sometimes. So you can leave the other one hanging on the other side.
I'm just messing with y'all, I'm fine. I call this one fish out of water.
Come over here and do this one. Plus, if you didn't notice, I've got another jack over here and another jack stand too. So it's always nice to have extra tools if you can do it. For those of you guys that don't have it, then you might have to do one side at a time. Just get it on the jack stands, move your jack around, get it up, and then maybe put a jack on one side to support it. Always want to be safe. Having a little trouble with this rear bolt down here. She is, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but she's stripped. I don't know what was going on, but apparently it was stripped at some other time. It's not looking good. We're having to take some extra measures here. I went ahead and took the caliper off of the caliper mount, left the caliper mount on there so I could just get some more leverage and maybe some room to work on this bolt. I've tried about everything, but we're gonna have to get serious, I think, because it doesn't want to come off. It's always that one bolt, but we'll get it. We're going after some vice grips. Now I've got some room, I think I can get some vice grips on it.
Vice grip.
Not gonna lie, this one's being a booger. All right, well, it took pounding a 13mm socket on there that is designed to take off tough bolts, but I got it, finally. May not be able to get the bolt out of the socket now. I'll show you what this looks like if I can get it out of there. All right, so you can see that bolt is boogered up. So we're gonna need a new bolt. Hopefully I can get one of these at the parts store. If not, we're gonna have to go find one somewhere. Don't know if Roll King has something like this or not. I'd like to buy the original bolt. And just to show you what kind of socket we've got, I have these cobalt sockets. They're designed, they've got these little grooves and teeth in there. So they actually expand when you push it on there. So they kind of create a new surface. It's not for your typical just everyday use. It's for trying to get bolts extracted. And so I finally was able to pound this on, got it on there secure enough, and with a little bit of penetrating oil and enough leverage, finally got it off with my ratchet. After trying vice grips and just various other things, we finally got her loose. So now we can get our rotor off here and get that to town. Always helps if you take the other bolt out of the caliper. She's being a pain. All right, this time I got the I don't mess around here 3-pound sledge, and she's finally breaking loose. I was able to tap around with this thing and finally got it loose. And she's just pretty cruddy in there. As you can see, the shoes are about the same on this side, and again, smooth on the inside of this, so not a problem with the parking brake situation, but I do think it was kind of rusted in there. This thing obviously needs cleaned. The rotor actually is not bad. It's got a little bit of a ridge here, but really it's pretty smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and have it turned too, just so that I got a good equal set. Otherwise, we're gonna get these turned, we're gonna clean this up, and then we'll get our brake pads, get them put on. We're gonna head to town, see if we can't get these rotors turned. All right, well, we're back and got my rotor turned. You can see they're nice and shiny and smooth.
Smooth like butter.
Now, both sides. So I'm just gonna rinse these off with some brake clean before I put them back on. Took these to O'Reilly's and got them turned. No problem there. Also, got a new set of caliper bolts. Only needed one, but they came in a pack of 2. Also got those at O'Reilly's. Also picked up their Brake Best Select Premium brake pads. They're ceramic for the rear. These particular ones are SC828 for the rear of this 2006 Toyota Avalon. I'm sure it fits on several older Toyotas. SC828 if you're interested. These do come with the brake hardware. Comes with your 2 sets of pads each side, as well as your brake clips. Some of the pads I guess they sell don't always come with clips. As I may have mentioned in my other video, if you're gonna get new clips, you might as well get them. Unless yours are broken or bent or having problems, you don't have to replace them. I'm gonna go ahead since they gave me the new clips with these. Got our new clips on there. Now we're going to put our caliper, our cleaned up caliper with our new clips on it, back in with the new bolts that we just got. Just slides over the rotor into position. Caliper bolts in the back. Just get them started in there with your fingers. Make sure you're not going to cross thread them. All right, now let's tighten them up. It always helps when you're ratcheting the right way and your ratchet doesn't accidentally go into loosen mode. Okay, twice now. Try not to hit your ratchet. All right, we got them tightened up. Now we need to put our brake pads on. And before we do, we're going to use some lube. Got the Permatex brake parts lubricant. A lot of times the brake pads will come with a little lubricant. These particular ones didn't. This is what I used the last time, so this is what I'm using again. Just want to lubricate where the pads are going to slide here on the new brackets. Try not to get on the rotor, which I did a little bit there. I'll have to wipe that off, but and then you should be able to just slide your pads right on. Simple as that. As we did on the RAV4 video, just going to use a C-clamp to compress this piston back in on here so that we can get it over there. You can use a special tool or you can use a C-clamp. In this case, all I need is a C-clamp. And there you go. Piston's pushed back in, so we won't have any clearance issues getting that over there. And then we're going to slide, actually, before we do that, we're going to put a little bit of lube on our pins and slide them back in there. Get it lubed up really good, get it moving good and start it just by hand here. Now we got it lubed up real good and inside and out. Got the rubber piece back on. We'll pull that out, get the other one ready, and the other one go. Oh, there he is. And again, much like on the RAV4, these pins are different from top to bottom, so make sure you don't mix them up. This one's got a little ridge on it here and a little like a bushing, whereas the one on the top doesn't have that. I always like to spin them around in there and just get them lubed up pretty good just to make sure that the lube's all inside there and all around the bolt. Then I can pull that out so that we can get our actual caliper put back on. And I am going to spray this off just a little bit with some brake clean before I throw that back up there. Again, you want to get them just finger tight to start with. We look good over here. Got a little movement in our caliper. Rotor turns good. Got that pushed back on. Basically, we're ready to dismount our wheel back up over here and go to the other side. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, I'm going to spray this one down, just clean it up. Should note, have plenty of brake clean because this stuff goes pretty fast. This is probably, I probably almost used a can. I had 2 partial cans and this one's just about empty, so I'm going to be on probably my second can technically just in this little job. So pretty much anytime you're going to do it, unless you got a case of it on hand, you probably need to pick you up a couple of cans when you're doing a brake job. Yeah, and this one's basically empty. Rebuilt. Now I am going to take this bracket and the whole caliper. I'm going to pull the brake pads out of there if I get them out of there, and then mount this back on before I loosen those up. Pull those pins out because it's just easier. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get those loose unless it's got something to hold on to. I will go ahead and compress my piston while I'm here. And I should note, while that's attached like that, I need a little bit deeper C-clamp, so I'll have to go grab another C-clamp. Then we'll put our caliper bolts back on. And again, always hand tighten those to get going, because sometimes they're a little bit of a booger to get started in there. You don't want to cross thread them. Now we're going to take these guys off. And this is why I mounted them back on there, because sometimes they're pretty tight. We'll go with a little bigger ratchet and try that. She's going to be contrary. All right, we'll try a little penetrating oil. She is pretty stuck. Tighten this one back in. Level it back out. Pretty sure we had some movement there. Think we got some success. She's tight. And that ain't right. Ow. All right, what's going on here? Well, this guy was a fighter. Boy, I had to take it in and out, lubricate it, try to get a little lube on this side, get a little lube on the back side. Just kept rocking it, beating on it with a hammer a little bit to loosen it up. She was in there. And I guess it's just rust, because I don't know, it might be bent. No, I don't think it's bent. I thought it was, but she's just tight. So I'm gonna put some lube on this one, put it back in there and see if I can run it in and out of there good. Might have to spray this guy out. Well, at a minimum, we're going to need new pins, but I don't know what's jammed up inside this thing to make this thing so tight. And this thing, the rubber seals on it are coming apart. It looks like it's separated from there. I'm not sure if there were two rubber seals on this one or just one at the bottom. I think just one at the bottom. In any case, they don't look very good, and it isn't going in there very straight. or not very slick anyway. It won't slide back and forth like this one will. So I guess we're going back to the parts store.
The next day.
All right, well, I'm back. I did manage to go to O'Reilly's and try to pick up the parts that I needed, but unfortunately they had to order one of the parts and get it in overnight, which worked out really good. I will give them a shout out for that. They didn't have it in stock, but they were able to get it by 1 o'clock today. So I went and picked up the parts, and actually what I've done here is, as you can see, and as we were talking, this caliper pin and this little rubber bushing here, this thing's split and broken, and this caliper pin was really wedged in there good, and it doesn't look like it's bent, but it just isn't very good. It doesn't slide very well. So what I did is I picked up a whole new set of caliper pins, which they did have these in stock yesterday. I picked these up yesterday. Again, one of these has got the place for the bushing. Unfortunately, the bushings don't come with that, so you have to order them in a separate kit, and this little tiny rubber bushing is what I had to wait on. Also comes with these rubber pieces new for the caliper, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those on this side. So I have an extra set for the other side if I would need it. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this caliper bracket cleaned back up and get it ready to go, and then we're going to put our brakes back together, and hopefully we're going to get done here shortly. And always make sure your brackets get on there straight. Basically, these got these little clips on the inside, so you can see where that goes up against the inside of that. And of course, this slides over there, and so it's pretty easy to not screw these up. And again, there are a difference. This is the bottom, which has got this little ridge and where this little rubber bushing goes. This one doesn't have that. So in either case, we're going to lube both of these up, get the little rubber bushing on there, and get these in there and make sure that they slide correctly before we put this back together. Just want to make sure it's good and sliding around in there good, so it doesn't bind up on you. It shouldn't. Just want to get some of the gunk out of this one because it did have a little bit of stuff in it. Just going to use this to clean it out. It feels pretty good. Put our caliper bolts back on. Make sure our lube's still where our brake pad's got to go there. Sure to wipe as much of the lube off your hands before you get back to your brake pads. I do have some on the rotor. I'm going to have to wipe that off, but we'll get that cleaned up here in a minute. Put our brake pads back in. Get our caliper back on. Do need to spray it off a little too. Put our pins back in. Make sure we still got good movement there. And now we just got to put our wheel back on. And we're going to torque these to about 78 foot-pounds. Well, we got the wheels torqued. I'm gonna start it up, pump the brakes up, make sure we get no problems there. Just check it out here in the driveway and then take her for a little ride and double check and see how things are. All right, well, took her for a drive and thought for a minute I was gonna have to bleed the brakes for some reason. When I first started it up, the brakes went all the way to the floor and they weren't really getting any pressure at all. I let the car run for probably a good 5 minutes, backed it up and down the driveway a couple times, and it had absolutely no brakes. It was going all the way to the floor. So I pulled it back in the garage thinking, well, maybe I'm gonna have to bleed them, even though there shouldn't have been any pressure change because I didn't lose any fluid and none of the hoses or anything were broken. Turns out, shut the car off, turn it back on, got brake pressure again. Everything seems fine, took it for a drive. Everything seems to be braking and working fine. I took a look at the brakes when I got back. Nothing weird going on in the rear. Everything felt smooth and normal again. So I think we're good to go. It was just a little strange that it took kind of a reset, I guess, a turn it on, turn it off.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again? Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Of the whatever drives it may be the ABS brake system or something, I don't know. In any case, you're working on one and the first time you fire it up after pushing those pistons in the back and replacing your back brakes, you find out that you go all the way to the floor and you can't seem to make it stop doing that. Shut the car off, turn it back on, everything went back to normal. I think we're good to go. I think that's going to do it for today. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, set the bell to get notified whenever I put out new videos. So once again, I appreciate everybody. I thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.
Huh?